and we are live. So if you are a customer experience professional looking to deliver a rock star customer experience to your customers, then you are in the right place, because today we are talking to Lee Cokerell, and he is the retired and inspired EVP of operations at Disney. Now, I love Disney. I think Disney is an amazing company, not just for the customer side of things, but what they do internally and how it all aligns towards creating magic for their customers. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, creating magic in our companies. So if you are watching, make sure to give us a nice little share. If you've got any questions for Lee, put them in the comment box. And so if you don't know who I am James Dodkins, and I used to be an actual real life legitimate rock star. But now I'm not. Now I'm a customer experience rock star, and I work to fill the world with other customer experience rock stars. And today, that is you. So without any further ado, through the magical power of the internet, we should be able to talk with Lee. Lee, are you there?
I'm here. How are you? Good morning.
Morning. I'm doing good. So guys, the weird thing is, if you are watching live today, both me and Lee are actually in Orlando at the moment, Orlando, Florida. And we would have loved to have met up live and done this together live, but it's like 6:21 in the morning. We've all got stuff to do. But so, Lee, tell you what, first things first, introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Lee Cockerell. I'm retired now. I was in the hotel and entertainment business for 42 years before I retired and started my own little business. I worked for Hilton Hotels for 8 years and Marriott International for 17 years. And then I joined Disney in 1990 to open Disneyland Paris, and did that for 3 years, and then came back and ran Disney World operations for another 10 years. And then I retired. So that's who I am. That's my career in a nutshell.
Quite a lot of modesty there, man. There's because I'm reading the customer rules at the moment, one of your books, and from what I understand from it, you were looking after what, 40,000 people at Disney. That's that's pretty crazy, man. So
it was a lot.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we had 40,000 cast members and 5,000 managers there when I was there.
Ooh, that's pretty extreme. So talking about the books. Okay, first of all, tell us about the books that you've written, and tell us about what drove you to actually write the books in the first place.
Yeah, well, I always thought I had something to say, but I didn't have the security to believe I could do it. And then I met a lady one day, and she said, she read some of my stuff. She said, Lee, you ought to write a book. I said, she was an international literary agent in New York. And so I started working on it, and the first one, Creating Magic, 10 Common Sense Leadership Strategies from a Life at Disney, published that, which is now in 18 languages around the world. And that was very successful. And a couple of years later, Random House, the publisher, called me and said, we want you to write another book. And I said, no, that's too much work. And they talked me into it. So I wrote the customer rules, the 39 rules to provide sensational service to your customers, and that's done well too. And then I wrote a book on time management, how to get more done every day, because most people are so disorganized it's not even funny. I always tell people are not overworked, they're just not organized properly to get the work done. And then last, I authored a book called Career Magic, how to stay on track to achieve a stellar career. And it's how to overcome the obstacles in your career and be aware that they're going to happen and prepare yourself for them. And don't just give up once something happens to you in your career. You got to pick yourself up, got to get back out there. And so I talk a lot about those because I had them in my career, and everybody's going to have them. So that was the 4 books. And I barely got through high school English, so I was shocked I could write a book.
Well, to be fair, I've written, I wouldn't call myself an author. I've written a few books pretty badly, and it's quite nowhere near as good as yours, nowhere near as successful as yours. But it's one of those things where somebody sort of says, oh, you should write a book, and you go, I don't really want to do that. But then, of course, you have to. So look, out of the 39 rules, in the customer rules. Right, I'm going to put you on the spot here. If you could give advice to somebody who could only implement one of the rules, okay, they could only implement one of them, which one would you suggest and why?
Well, I think for business, the one that's the most important is making sure you're hiring the right people. I mean, there's a chapter on that, and if you get that right, just about everything else goes well when you got good people. And then probably the second one is training, making sure you're training, testing, and enforcing your training. And I kind of think about three things. There's one on that one too, and then about the culture. Are you treating people right? I kind of called it hire them right, train them right, and treat them right, and you'll have a great operation.
Yeah.
And because you got to have people wake up in the morning excited to come to work, not just come for a paycheck. And the culture matters. Yeah.
So actually, that's it brings us on. There's a question in the comments here from Yanis, which you might be able to see here. So he's saying, like, how do you ensure the Disney brand stays consistent across different cultures? Now, when he's talking about cultures there, I'm guessing that means, of course, there are Disney theme parks all over the world. So how do you ensure that your culture stays consistent in different cultures?
Yeah, well, that's first of all, it's difficult. In America, kids grew up with Disney here, so they always knew it, so it was easier. And I would say the same way. We basically the cultures are different, so the food's going to be different. The traditions are different. The holidays are different, but we try to make sure in every country we hire great people, and we're very careful who we hire, and then we make sure we train them to take care of the guest, no matter what culture it's in. And then last, that we create this culture where they feel like they matter and there's somebody, they wake up in the morning proud to work for Disney. And it's not easy, though. It was difficult in France when we started. They didn't really know Disney very well. And then we opened in Hong Kong and China and Japan. And you just have to keep working it. But I think the key is you keep your eye on making sure every decision you make is focused on how's this going to affect the customer. Are they going to be happy with this policy, this procedure, this decision you have made, the food, the selection of food, operating hours? So it's you got to get to know the culture in that country and pay attention to it, because sometimes we didn't always pay attention to the culture. We thought, well, they'll do it like they do in America, and that's not true. I asked a Japanese person one day, what's your favorite food? And he said, Japanese. You ask an American, they may say Italian, Japanese, German. I mean, so you really got to pay attention to the culture, make sure you understand it, talk to the potential guests, and be clear about your expectations with the people you hire about here's how we treat our guest. And we've been pretty successful at that. Japan's great. Disneyland Paris is coming along nicely now. Disney's going to invest another $1.5 billion in France and in Disneyland Paris, and Shanghai's off to a good start. So each culture is different, but everybody wants to be treated right. And so that's what we try to do.
Okay, fantastic. That was a brilliant question there from Yanis. Thank you for that. So the thing that it makes me think about is, of course, Disney is synonymous with the word magic, and it's almost like a mission, a purpose to deliver magic to your customers. So it's an interesting one because, of course, I imagine that doesn't change no matter where you are in the world, whether you're in Japan, whether you're in America, whether you're in Europe, you still want to deliver magic for your customers. But I imagine that delivering magic to the customers means different things in different places. So how do you go about discovering what that is for different people?
Yeah, well, I think it means different things to every person, frankly. If you're coming with your little daughter and she's 4 years old, it's about Cinderella and the fantasy of it all. If you come with older teenagers, it's the thrill rides, the culture, the excitement. And so, but around the world, it's everybody wants to matter, and we try to make sure we pay attention to every guest. We treat them extremely well. We pretty much never say no. We figure out an alternative to every problem and try to give a solution where our guests feel like they come there expecting something, and I think we far achieve that, way over what they expect. because I think unless you've been to Disney, it's hard to imagine what it really could be like.
Yeah.
And we hear guests all the time and just say that it was more than I expected, even how the cast members paid attention to my daughter and my son. It was our birthday, and everybody wished her a happy birthday. And those little simple things and kindnesses, and focused on the customers and on the guests. And it seems to be the right thing. And frankly, any company can do it. You know, anybody could create magic in their business by being so great that the customer can't believe it. You know, the employees, the cleanliness, the friendliness, the bathrooms clean, people paying attention to you, being reliable and credible, keeping your promises. These are the things that people want. The attractions are great and they're fun, but the way people are treated is, the end of the day, what really inspires our guests.
Yeah, so it kind of brings me back to one of the things from your book, and about being comes before doing. And it's kind of like, it's not necessarily about what you do, it's about how you do it. How important do you think that is? How important do you think that mindset is in the 21st century, where a lot of products and services have become commoditized, where there's really not very many unique, I mean, arguably Disney probably is one of the unique companies out there, but everything else, there's probably hundreds of other people that provide the exact same thing. So how important do you think it is to understand that how you do it is really paramount in the 21st century?
And we always talk about that. Leadership is the name of the game, and hopefully the people running the organization understand that how you treat people and being available for people and training them and building their self-confidence and self-esteem. That's how then the cast member goes out to take care of the guests because they want to, not because they have to, because they're being treated right. And I tell people that all the time. We got a lot of people doing a lot in the world, but they're not being a lot. They're not being there for their employees. They're not being there for the customers. They don't have the opportunity to be somebody who can tell the truth, make hard decisions, have hard conversations, be clear with people about performance. So I would think we could all step back and think about, okay, what are we doing? Yeah, no problem. We're doing a lot, but are we being a lot? Do our customers trust us? Are we being enough for our families? Are we being enough for our vendors? Are we being the kind of people we should be proud of, and how we would like our own children to behave and treat people respectfully? So it's about respect, and you got to love what you're doing and be there for your customer, and just amaze them that whatever they need, we get it done. And most companies don't do that. The products there, that's going to be a kind of a problem. I said, we've done everything else in the world. Now it's time to take care of the customer. So we've tried everything else. Yeah. And products are just a commodity. And you can go to a theme park anywhere in the world, and you can go to the movies, and you can go whatever. But Disney special, attention to detail is everything. We tell stories. We don't just have rides. Everything's a story, and people love stories. People remember stories. We all do. When we were little, we heard those stories about Cinderella and Mickey Mouse, and all these people love stories, not just a ride. And so we put the whole thing together. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting thing. So, I mean, one thing you mentioned was pride, and I want to get back to that in a little moment. But the other side of it is, of course, so when I went into that question, I was thinking, well, yeah, Disney are a unique company, so it's okay for Disney. But of course, you are right. There's loads of other theme parks around the world. The only reason I thought that you were unique is because of the way that you do things. And it's kind of like, so do you know Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead?
Sure.
So there's a quote from Jerry Garcia, and I'm probably not going to necessarily get it perfectly correct, but it changed my life. The quote went something like this: "You shouldn't be trying to be the best in the world at what you do. You should be trying to be the only person in the world that does what you do." And that really made me click there, because as far as I'm concerned, Disney are the only people in the world that do what they do. So that really made me think there. So that's fantastic. So I want to get back to the pride thing. Yeah. So pride, as I understand it, when people first get trained at Disney, they go to Disney U and they get a class called Traditions, where they get taught about the history and the prestige of Disney, and they talk to people about when they were customers at Disney and how they received magic from Disney. And it really instills a sense of pride in the person working for Disney, realizing that they're working for a company with history, working for a company that's widely respected around the world, working for a company with an insane focus on its customers. So how important do you feel it is to have proud employees working for your company?
Oh, I think it's probably everything. When you're proud of what you do, you just do a better job because it's a personal thing. It's your personal reputation. It's your, I think about that all the time. If I'm not proud and I have people not treating me right, and I wake up in the morning and wish the day was over, I'd hate working there, and it's just for the paycheck. That comes out in the customer, and it comes out when you get home at night, when you're in a bad mood. And so we think pride's a key element. Everybody wants to be proud of what they do. And I think people are proud to say, I work for Disney. And I can say some companies, people are not proud to say they work for them. And, reputation is very fragile. You can lose it in a minute. And you see what Facebook's going through right now, just with one little thing happening where the customers are saying, I'm not sure we trust you. And when the people don't trust you, it's hard to be proud to work there. And so they're going to suffer some. And I think we would too. We have to be extremely careful that we don't make any major errors in trust for our customers and for our guests that come to Disney. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what, you are right about saying that people are proud to say that they work for Disney. So I've worked with Disney. I've trained a bunch of people from Disney about customer-centric process improvement methods. And whenever people ask me who I've worked for, Disney is always the first name I say, because I am so proud that I even managed to get in the door a little bit with Disney, because it's such an amazing company. But what I want to get to now is sort of the other side of things, the operations side of things, the nuts and bolts of the operation, as it were. How do you ensure that alignment towards delivering magic to your customers, really in the everyday nuts and bolts going on of the organization?
Well, I think, again, we hire great people, we train them. And I think we are so clear when we hire somebody about our expectations for performance. And I'd say most companies are not. Clarity of expectations is one of the biggest points in any business, any family. If you got children, clarity of expectations for their behavior, what you expect them to do. And most people don't do that. And so we're extremely clear. And it's kind of like, you don't have to be happy to work at Disney, but you got to act happy for 8 hours. We expect you to get up in the morning, take care of our guests. We're putting on a show, just like every company is. And if you got the right actors, you've trained them right, and you hold them accountable, and they perform their role in the show, then you get excellence. And that's what we look for every day. We want the same show every day. Great attention to detail. Everything matters. Everything matters. The parking lot matters. The landscaping matters, the bathroom cleanliness, food quality, food service, personal appearance of the cast members. Everything matters if you want to put on a great show. Yeah. And a lot of managers out there and owners, they kind of let it go. You go into see some of these employees, sloppy looking, they're not professional. They don't know they don't understand the merchandise, so they don't know how to sell it to the customer. But I would just remember, everything matters. When you think like that, you will see more things in your business that you should be improving. Yeah.
Definitely. So with Disney, the original idea for the theme parks, it was a big idea. It was some would probably argue, a crazy idea. How important do you think it is to have a big, unrealistic vision that you want to create?
Well, we see that today. Look at what's going on with Apple and Tesla and all these things. People got big ideas. Shooting a car into outer space is a pretty big deal. I'm not sure the average person could pull that off, or even want to, or be able to do it. And Amazon, big idea, and a lot of risk and a lot of stress. And so I think that's what we're looking for today. Companies that are going to be successful can't just duplicate what's already out there. Well, they might be okay, they may be satisfied, they may make a good income, but at the end of the day, if you can come up with that new idea, that big new idea, new big way to do something, and you're first at it, then you have a lot of you're in a better position when you're first.
Yeah.
Because everybody can try to duplicate Amazon. It's probably too late. Or Apple, it's too late. Or it's Disney, way too late. Yeah. And you got to dream big. And I think on a personal level, you do too. I think people need to not underestimate the success they can have in their lives. Quit worrying about they grew up poor, or their mother didn't treat them right, or they didn't get the right education. Don't underestimate what you can achieve. A lot of people are young. They got 50 years to work still. They can go out and get their degree. They can go out and learn more. They can become an expert at something. When you become an expert at something, people want you. So I really worry about people who underestimate their potential, and they just kind of sit back and they live just a very average to below average life when they could have had a great life. Because if they pick themselves up and go learn something, do something, be something, don't blame your mother for the position you put yourself in. As somebody said, don't look at the past. You're not going there. So look at the future. And for me, I don't have a college degree. I went in the Army. My first job was a banquet waiter at the Washington Hilton, serving guests. And 35 years later, I was running Disney World. So with no degree, I worked harder than everybody else. I had a better attitude. I was more reliable. I did what they said they wanted me to do. I worked 6 days, 7 days a week if I had to. I didn't complain. Next thing you know, I kept getting promoted. Those basic things that people look for in somebody: reliability, credibility, somebody they can trust, become an expert at something, whatever it is. Pick something and become the best in the world at it. And next thing you know, you'll have some success. Comes unexpectedly.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, so when you started taking leadership roles, of course, it would have been a lot different to the way that you started. And moving into a leadership role, a lot of people see a big gap between the people that deliver the customer experience every single day and then the people that are managing it. How important do you feel that leadership is in the delivery of customer experience?
Well, I think it's vital, because at the end of the day, the best leaders, and I think I happen to be one of them, is because I had experience and exposure. I had done every job. I had washed dishes. I had cooked. I had cleaned rooms. All my cast members and employees over the years I knew what was going on. And I think today you got a lot of leaders that don't have the experience, the exposure. They come out of school with a finance degree. They don't really understand the business they're running. They push too hard for the profit, and then the service goes downhill. And that's what happens. I mean, I tell people today, if you want to be successful long-term, know the business that you're in, know it upside down, be able to do the jobs that your employees do. Maybe not as fast as they do, because they do it every day, but get involved, be out in your business, walking around, asking questions, helping people get their job done. This is what leaders do, not sit up in the 38th floor and look out the window and hope everything works.
Yeah.
You got to know the truth. Most people don't know the truth. Therefore, they come up with the wrong decisions on how to fix things. Because let me tell you, when you're a leader, everybody's handling you. It's like being a parent. If you got a 13-year-old, they're handling you. They're not telling you everything they need to know. And so you got to work hard to find out the truth so you can fix it. Yeah.
Definitely. It's great advice, and it's great advice for anybody out there that's either in or not in a leadership role, or somebody who would aspire to be in a leadership role. It's good to have that in the back of your mind, that it's not about control, it's about support. It's about encouraging people to, deliver magic, or whatever your company's version of magic is. But when it comes to the sort of the purpose, the mission of magic for Disney and the vision, do you also have a set of core values as an organization?
Well, we do. I think if you look at it, the culture is the values: honesty, integrity, everybody matters, treating people respectfully, driving the bigotry and the racism out of the organization, treating every guest from around the world special, forgetting all those things your parents taught you about those people aren't right and those people aren't good and these people aren't good. So it's a place where everybody feels welcome. And so I think that's one of the things that really makes a difference at Disney. We don't put up with any nonsense where we treat people, whether it's Catholics or Jewish people or Muslims or gay people, or badly. No way. We treat everybody the same. All that other stuff is none of our business. And our only business is performance, making sure you have the best time of your life when you come there. That's all we need to focus on. We don't need to focus on anything else, where you're from, what color you are, what background, what education, what disability. We just focus on performance. And that's hard enough to take care of without worrying about all this other stuff. So, and I think a lot of companies have this problem. I think a lot of customers come into a business and don't feel welcome because employee kind of has a problem with those people. And I said, we like all credit cards.
Yeah.
And we like all currency. We love pounds, euros, pesos, rubles. Mickey likes all currency. We don't, and too many people say, oh, those people from there are in town again. I hate seeing them. And they come in here and they push around and yeah. No. Be nice to your customers. This is, as my granddaughter said, the most important thing in customer service is be nice.
Yeah.
And that costs nothing, but you got to hire the right people to make sure. And when they're not nice, you get rid of them.
Yeah.
And that's how you fix your business. So yeah.
Is that something that you came across a lot in? Is it something that sort of slipped through the selection process, and then you realise somebody's got a certain belief or mindset about things, and you go, oh, what do we do now? Like when you find people like that, what do you do? Do you work to try and change their mind, or do you realise that they've got fundamentally flawed principles and you just get rid of it? How do you deal with that? I mean, not just at Disney, but what's your advice for people in any company?
Well, I think to be clear up front when you hire them so they know what they're getting into and talk about these things. Listen, we have Jewish people coming here. We have Muslims coming here. We have Christians coming here. We have gay people coming, and you are to treat them all perfectly. And if we get complaints about you, you won't be here. And then you can try to make sure, you can be a bigot, just don't show it. We don't want to see it. We don't want to hear about it. I can't change your mind overnight, but if you get into the Disney organization, you do change over time, because once you get into a new environment, you become like that environment. And if you're in an environment where everybody's telling inappropriate jokes and sexual harassment and mistreating women and other people, then unfortunately you become like that. I always tell you, be careful who you hang out with. Some people can get you in a lot of trouble. And be careful whose car you get into, and be careful who are your real friends. And family sometimes are the problem too. And so we just make sure we have an environment and a culture where everybody matters and they know they matter. And then if you got some problems, that's your problem, but you better not show it to us. And so we terminate people for inappropriate stuff like that all the time.
Okay. So there might be some people out there that are watching this going, you know what, I never thought that my company could be like Disney in any way. Maybe they're in insurance or in finance or something that they never thought could have that magical edge to it. But maybe now they're looking at this going, you know what, I could deliver magic to my customers. For those people that are wanting to add a touch of Disney magic to their organizations, what are your top tips? Where should they start?
I would say sit down with a group of people in your company and think about every single thing you do, from how you answer the phone to how you get back to people, that you answer the phone instead of having one of these telephone trees where you have to push buttons for 30 minutes till you get to the right party. Have it personalized, individualized. Make sure when somebody comes into your building, you stand up and greet them, and you are, the bathrooms are spotless. You offer them coffee. When you tell them you're going to call them back Friday at 5:00, you do it. You become reliable and credible. And then you go through the list of all your employees and figure out which ones should not be there. Get better people in place. and then be clear with them about your expectations for treating people very, very professionally and well. And as you start doing these things, the next time you hire somebody, you hire a better person. The next time, a better person. And over 2 or 3 years, you become the standout in your business, in your line of work. And it's just a matter of looking at everything you do and saying, are we good or are we great? Are we average? Or if you want to be great, you got to be great. Everything matters. And you got to start looking at it that way. When you pull up in your driveway, are there cigarette butts around the front door? And, are people dressed professionally, and do they look professional? For like, if you're in the insurance or finance business, you probably need to be pretty conservative. If you're in the entertainment business, then you can be more out there. And people need to step back and say, okay, how should this person look in their role? Like Cinderella can't have a tattoo on her neck. Mickey can't smoke while he talks to your kids. And when I worked at the Waldorf Astoria, I was told you don't walk around and you don't wear a brown suit after 5 o'clock at night. You don't walk around smoking. You don't drink out of a bottle. That's why glasses were developed. And you got to set the scene for the work you do and what the expectations of your customers are. And I told somebody recently, said, how can I find out what we need to do better? I said, there's 2 things. Talk to a bunch of customers and ask them, and then talk to your employees and ask them, what can we do better? What are you getting complaints on? What do you think I could change and make your job better and make the customer happier? They know, but we never ask them. Every employee knows what you should be doing and what's not working.
Yeah.
Every employee knows.
Well, I think
some people should never answer the phone, by the way.
Yeah.
They don't know how. I mean, they got to answer it with excitement and like they're glad you called and how can I help you? So some people can answer it and you say what you think feels like they're dead.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the interesting thing about that is, of course, like most companies buy into the idea of talking to their customers and finding out about them and seeing what they think maybe could be improved in the organization. But not a lot of companies actually talk to their employees. And as you say, the employees know most of the problems going on in the organization. And so I think it's a really empowering thing to be able to talk to your employees, to say, look, what's going wrong? What can we be doing better? What can we do for you to help you deliver a better customer experience? And then, of course, it makes the employee feel, again, sort of that sense of pride in the company, feels proud that they want your feedback to make the company a better place. And then when those things get implemented, they have that sense of pride that they've helped improve the company themselves. And it's almost like a snowball effect. So they feel prouder, so they feel more part of the company. They feel like they own it a little bit. They deliver the better experience, and it just grows and grows. So I think that's a fantastic way to look at it. And it kind of brings me on to my next question. If you had, that's all brilliant advice, but let's say you had one day to improve a company's customer experience, 9 to 5, what would you do?
I'd probably get them all in a room and tell them we were going to hit the reset button, and I would talk to them and tell them, listen, here's what my expectations are. Here's for each job. I might go through and say, okay, ladies, you answer the phone. Here's how I expect you to answer it with excitement and energy. And I expect you to get back to the customers when you say you will. I go through every job. I'd get them in the room and say, we're going to start over here. And the bus is going to leave in a few minutes on that new journey. And either you get on the bus or you're not going to be here. And I love you, but we've got to take care of our customers. It's really all we got. And if you don't have customers, you don't have income. And if you don't have income, you don't have a job. And the world is getting very competitive, and it's getting scary for a lot of small companies and businesses that are not trying to get better. They keep cutting costs instead of getting better. And I would say the leadership has everything to do with it. If the boss wants it, it'll happen. He'll give you the resources. He'll give you the training. He'll give you the support. But they got to hear from the boss. They got to hear from people who want this to happen. And if you talk to your employees, then listen to them and take action. Don't just listen to them and blow it off or tell them it's a dumb idea or, nah, we can't do that. And, blah, blah, blah. No, you got to take some action or tell them why you can't do it.
Yeah.
Why? Maybe it costs too much, whatever. But
it's that communication. It's one of it would almost be worse to ask for somebody's ideas and then not implement them and never talk to them again, rather than just not even asking in the first place. So I get that.
Exactly.
But ask for the feedback from the employees, either act on it or explain why it is that you can't. So you mentioned cost cutting in there, and you mentioned that a lot of people, they focus on trying to reduce their costs rather than focusing on trying to get better. What do you think the biggest danger is for companies that are focusing on hardcore cost cutting?
Well, I think it just happens over time. You know, this year you take something out and nobody notices. And then this next month you take something else out, and nobody really notices. And then you keep doing this, and eventually one day you're not the same company you were. It's happened slowly. Cultures change slowly. They get better or worse very slowly. And I think that's what they don't understand is make sure that you look at how every decision you make is going to affect the guest, the customer, how it's going to affect the employees, and how it's going to affect your bottom line. And then you make the best decision you can. But you got to be more careful. We call that the three-legged stool: the customer, the bottom line, and the employees. You got to say, okay, how's this going to affect them a long term, not just this month or this year because we're having some problems. Most people can't look long term. Most people don't have a long-term vision.
Yeah.
Except mothers. I say mothers do because when you're born, the mother knows she's got 18 years to get you right. And so if everybody had the same vision a mother has about doing a good job long term instead of just spots here and there and there, and it's hard. It's very complicated today to manage costs across the world with products and services becoming cheaper and cheaper and coming online and using technology and having an assistant in India instead of in the UK. Yeah. And, it just keeps going on and on. But I think the biggest problem in business today is the leadership. The leaders talk a good story, but they don't really live a good story. They're not trusted. Most employees don't trust leadership. They've had too many bad experiences. And the first thing the leader's got to do is build trust among his staff and keep his promises and do what he says he's going to do. And over time, they'll see it, and then they'll help you more. But most employers are not going to tell you anything because they don't trust you. Mm. And then if you overreact and make them feel insecure, then they're definitely not going to tell you anything. So it's kind of like your children. When they tell you bad news, don't overreact or they'll never tell you again.
Yeah.
And so it's complicated. Leadership matters. I mean, leadership matters. So it's like parents matter.
Definitely. So it's almost like you're saying, so if the leadership looks after the employees, then in return, the employees will look after the customers. And then in return, the customers will look after the profit. So that's
absolutely.
It's
leadership comes first. The customer does not come first. Until you have leaders in place, they're not going to create an environment for the employees where they're really excited to do a good job. And then they take care of the customers because they want to, not because they have to. And you make profit out the other end. It's a simple formula, but a lot of people can't get it. They don't understand it. And yeah.
It's kind of like, so do you play golf?
I don't. I'm so bad at it. That's why I give speeches. When I play golf, nobody claps. When I give speeches, people clap. So I need to be loved. So I do things that people appreciate.
It's a pretty good way of thinking about it. So whatever I do with a golf club and a golf ball probably traditionally wouldn't be called golf. But every now and again, I do go out. And so when I'm driving off the tee, I've got this thing like a wicked swing where it hooks off to the right. Now, rather than being a sensible adult and going to get lessons to correct that, what I do is if I want to hit the ball there, I just aim over there. But I have to believe, the problem is, if I get in my own head and know what I'm trying to trick myself to do, I'll mess it up. So I have to believe with every fiber of my being that I really want to hit the ball at that tree over there. And that focus will allow me to actually do the thing I technically want to achieve. So it's almost like the same thing. You have to focus on your leadership. You have to focus on your employees. You have to focus on your customers. But really what you want is the profit. But if you focus on the profit, you're not going to get the profit. But if you focus on those things, you definitely will get the profit. So that's what it made me think about. The thing I want to bring it back to is transparency. You talk about letting people know in the organization what's going on. And it seems to be, from my understanding with Disney, Disney's quite a transparent company and a lot of the employees know what's going on. And the idea behind it is that the more the people in the company know about what it is that Disney want to achieve, and the more they know about what's going on, the better they will be at achieving it. So how important do you feel transparency is within an organization?
Well, transparency for me is just a matter of trust. If you don't tell me what's going on and I don't understand what's going on, you're kind of sending the message to me you don't trust me.
Yeah.
And if people don't think you trust them, they're not going to perform. I tell people today, if you want to really make a headway in your business, think about the 3 or 4 things you're going to do on purpose every day. On purpose, not by accident. Are you going to walk your operation every day looking for things that need to be improved? Are you going to speak to your employees every day on purpose before you open the store? Are you going to walk the parking lot and make sure it's great on purpose? You got to think about the things you got to do on purpose or you won't get them done. You'll forget. It's got to become a routine, like brushing your teeth. There's certain things in your business that are critical, and you got to make sure those 2 or 3 things are done extremely well every day, not just sometimes. And so I would say think about what you do in your whole life and your personal life too, on purpose.
Yeah.
On purpose, telling your wife you love her, on your purpose, telling your children how much you appreciate them and love them and care about them, and on purpose, taking care of your health, exercise, on purpose, scheduled, so you get it done and life doesn't get away from you. I told people there's only 4 ages. You're born, you're 21, you're 65, and you're dead. This is how fast life goes by. And a lot of people don't think about doing things on purpose, and then they have regrets.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to do it.
Well,
if you want to be great.
It is a really good way to think about it. So having that deliberacy, doing things deliberately doing things for a particular reason, having that purpose, doing things on purpose. One thing, one little question before I get into a big one that I'm really looking forward to hearing the answer to. So it's a bit of a tough one. Right. So as far as I'm concerned with Disney, now I may be wrong with this, but from what I've seen, Disney are one of the companies in the world that really, really understands its customers and really, really understands what makes a good customer experience and really, really understands what doesn't make a good customer experience. So I would wager that any person in the company can see in the experience that the customer's having, whether they are having a good experience or not. And in the experience, if it's going right, that's good. They can learn from it. They can build on it. If it's not going right, they can maybe correct the path to make sure that that magic is being delivered. Now, taking that into account, do you guys actually do customer feedback? Do you even need to? Do you know your customers so well and know the experience you need to create so well that you don't actually need to send a survey afterwards saying on a scale of 1 to 10, hey, did you enjoy coming to Disney? What's the deal with that? Like, do you do it? Or if you do, how do you do it?
Yeah, we do it. And I would say the reason you do it is because I would say expectations change every day. I mean, the young people today expect more technology. The older people expect more places to sit and rest, different foods as you get older, different foods when you're younger. So we interview about 2 million guests a year, actually. And we interview them when they're checking into the hotel. We interview them when they're checking out. We interview them when they get on a ride, get off a ride, when they come out of a bathroom, when they buy their dinner, eat it afterwards. We're always checking to make sure that we are on target with meeting the expectations. And sometimes we'll see something, maybe we get a lot of negative feedback on bathroom cleanliness. So we, instead of going in the bathroom every 30 minutes, we go every 15 and start cleaning it. Mm. And we're always looking for that score to be where most guests. So we interview on the internet, we interview in person, we interview by many, many ways. People with iPads standing out there when you buy an ice cream cone. So we get a good viewpoint.
Okay. Yeah. So would you say it's less about understanding whether you did well and more about understanding how you can do well in the future?
Yeah, I'd say both, and by constituency, when you're interviewing a 65-year-old, it's different than a 13-year-old and what their expectations are and what they want. And by the way, if we used the research we had 10 years ago, it wouldn't even mean anything today with all the changes in the world and travel and airline tickets and costs and all the people that have special diets and are allergic to things and have to have special meals and everybody loves wine now, so you got to have 40 wines on the list, and so you got to keep moving because the world's moving, and the world is becoming more. Many countries are a lot more money. We're getting new customers, lots from China, lots from Russia, which we didn't have 10 years ago because they have the income, and so those people, they expect different things. So it's always changing. It's always always. And when I started Disney, 93% of all the managers were white males, and today, 25 years later, 50% are women, 50% are male, they're Black, Chinese, it's a totally different place. And so the customers expect different, and so do the employees. And you got to stay up with the times, I guess.
Yeah. So this is the big one for me. So from all of your time at Disney, what's the story that really you like the best, that encapsulates the delivery of magic to your customers?
That answer might be a little strange that I'm going to give you, but actually 9/11, the day Twin Towers got hit, Pentagon, because I witnessed our employees doing an incredible job. They all had been trained what to do in a crisis. They took care of the guests. They didn't get running around with their heads chopped off. They were calm, cool, collected. We took care of the guests. In an hour and a half, we had the parks closed down and evacuated back to their hotels. We sent characters over to entertain the children. There was a lot of tears and but I witnessed people doing it, pulling off a perfect show that day in very trying, troubling experiences. And I can tell you, Disney's probably the safest place in the world to be on 9/11 or hurricanes or other tragedies, because we have our act together. We practice, and you never know until something happens. And I was so proud that day. There's nothing I could do at that point. It was pretty much, okay, guys, do what you've been trained to do. And the guests thought that was magical, how well we handled that. Just how well we handled it. We gave free phone calls, free meals. People had run out, didn't have any credit left on their credit cards. We took care of that. We stood up and took care of the guests in the worst circumstances, not just the best. And that taught me a good lesson that day. Can you do it all the time, when times are good and when times are bad? Yeah. When a customer's in your face, can you still create magic? And that's what I think about every time. Not the best times. Best times, it's easy. When the sun's shining and it's 72 degrees, and that's easy. It's when it's raining and it's cold and and the guests are not happy. That can we still do something to correct that situation and bringing them around and make them happy? And sometimes it's just to give them a cup of hot chocolate. You never know what it is. The little things matter. Yeah, and they matter a lot. Yeah.
Well, it's it all comes down to genuine care, doesn't it, at the end of the day? And I think it's one of those things, as the leadership genuinely cares for the Disney employees, that rubs off, and then the employees genuinely care for their customers. And there's so realistically, I'm sure you can agree, it doesn't matter how well you design a system, how well you design technology, how well you design processes, how well you design experiences. If your people aren't engaged, if your people genuinely don't care, it all means nothing. So how would you say that the best way to engage your employees really is?
I would say, well, for me, if you want to engage anybody, you go through their heart. You make sure they understand the emotion of what we're doing, and we're dealing with people, because the only way you get to the brain is to go through the heart. If you want somebody to understand something, you got to reach them emotionally before they can accept it up in their brain. And the brain gets a lot of bad information because when I order you around, the brain doesn't care too much for that. But when I tell you, you're great, you're doing a great job, I'm glad you're on my team, and here's what I need you to do, your heart says, this is pretty good. I'm going to put it up in the brain. I'm going to do it better. So, you got to treat people right. I mean, it's such a simple thing to say, but how many people do you know that don't treat people right? I don't care. immigrants, people that have got it a lot worse than you do and I do, and people that grew up in tough neighborhoods and are poor and don't have the education. Those are the people we ought to treat the best. You don't have to treat me great. I'm doing fine. But I like to treat people who, I mean, it's the least I can do every day. I don't need to make somebody's life miserable. It's already miserable. Maybe I can make it a little better. And that's how we try to think about it. How can I make your day better? Yeah. Because everybody's got a problem you don't know about.
Yeah. That's a nice way to think about it. Every day, what can I do to make somebody's life a little bit better? And that's I think that's a brilliant point to leave it on today. So I've got a sneaking suspicion that people are going to want to get in touch with you. What is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Well, they can go to my website. It's www.leecockerell.com. Everything I do is on there. I'm developing a new website now. It'll be out in a couple months, but I put everything on there. So anything you want to know about me, videos of me speaking, or my books, or my podcast every Tuesday morning, 15 minutes on leadership management and customer service. My phone number's on there, my address, my email. I'm easy to get a hold of. You call me, I answer the phone. You don't have to talk to somebody else. And I like to be available. That's one of the chapters in the customer rules. Be available for your customers. People say, Lee, why do you always answer your own phone? I said, because I book more business that way. And half the people in the world have a phone, they don't answer it. And so, I'm easy to get a hold of. And except in the next few weeks, I'm going to Ireland for a week and then to Italy for a month. We rented a house there to celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
50. And my wife said she's going to stay, so I know I'm doing well.
Perfect. There you go. Which part of Ireland are you going to?
Well, we're just going to fly into Dublin, then get a car, and we're going to drive around for 5-6 days. I don't know. I've got a little route to Cork and to Galway, and I've been there before, but my wife hasn't been there. So we've going to stay in a couple of manors, a couple of castles, a couple of this and that. Nice. I love Ireland. Those are the nicest people in the world, let me tell you. I don't know why, but
other than England.
I went there the first time. Yeah, they want to be English, you think?
Which part of Italy are you going to?
We're going to Tuscany, a house down near Pisa. We rented. We used to go to France every summer. Now we decided to try Italy out, and everybody's coming, the grandkids and friends, and we'll drink all the wine they have in Tuscany and come home in July.
Sounds like a plan. That is perfect. Well, look, Lee, thank you so much for being with us today. What an amazing conversation. And I know the people watching really are going to want to pay a big debt of gratitude to you for really helping them figure out how they can deliver a little bit more magic to their customers, no matter what industry they're in. Guys, if you are watching and you want to get 3 free chapters of my new book called Put Your Customer Second, check the link below where Lee's contact details will be as well. I'm happy to send them out to you. And I would love some feedback on it, as long as it's good. And until next time, guys, keep delivering that rockstar customer experience.